What's up, everybody? Welcome back to White Boy Lockdown Radio. It's Big Matt, back with another one. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you're not, and you've been watching the channel for a while, do everything that everybody says, man. Share it, like it, and definitely hit a comment. I do my best to always answer comments. I don't just hit the heart and go down. All right, for this one, I want to do this video so I could simply break us into the next topic of videos that I'm going to bring on here, man. And I want to talk about gangs and everything about them for the next section of the channel. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the subject. As you see the title, it's the politics of fighting. It's crazy. No matter where you're at, no matter where you go, what state, probably country, incarcerated, regardless where you're at. It could be prison, it could be a jail, it could be a freaking rehab. Wherever you are, you're confined and you're spaced together and you don't want to be there. And you're around other types of people, whether it's race, whatever. And then whatever they're in there for, they're going to be weirdos. You can have drug addicts. There's so many different types and forms of people confined in one space that you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to like being there. So with that being said, people are going to disagree. People are going to argue. People are going to be hating on each other. People are going to be just doing everything. People are going to be fighting at the end of the day. No matter where you go, you're going to see people fighting. It's just what it is, and it's just what happens. One thing that always happens is when something goes down, when it's just a fight. Now I'm talking about fighting. I'm not even getting into the deeper and other levels where if something pops off and you see somebody get poked up or see somebody get buck 50. I'm just straight talking about fighting. When it happens, it's going to happen. But when it happens, it's your eyes and how you cool the situation. And what I mean by that is there's always one dumbass who, when something pops off, they may be walking from the water fountain, getting some hot water for their ramen soup, and they'll stop and be like, but that's not the convict way. Convict way is you could be on your bunk, putting your soups away or laying back reading a magazine. Your convict way is just to be and watch it go down. The reason that I say this is whoever it is fighting, the two people fighting, if they get caught, and they're only going to get caught if the COs see them scrapping, the COs ain't dumb. They're in the booth, and when something pops off, everybody is still. Because whether you're doing the convict way like this, or whether you're the moron who's just like, standing up right by the window, they're watching two dorms. Or even if it's a quad and they're watching six, you got movement, still. You have movement, still. So you have to be accustomed to know how to really be a convict. I say be a convict and stop and go like this, but really, as the time goes by and the longer that you're in there and you start to pick these things up, you'll understand that, especially if one of the two people fighting, or if you don't like either one of them, you're going to know how to control it as a spectator. So you could be watching like this, but you're going to keep movement. That's a real convict right there, because you don't want to be the majority of people that are still and silent. Now I bring this up because I've seen it. The loopy head that comes back and he's just like dirt, and then stops. I've seen him get called out. I've seen him get called out. And it's usually by gangs, because gangs will always test their own brothers. Okay? Just because somebody makes the cut, just because somebody came home, just because somebody's in the set, does not mean that they're granted or they're good. Okay? So they're constantly testing the waters. They're constantly sharpening their tools, if you will. Now, I'm not a big gang dude. I don't get down like that, but I respect the real gang members out there. I respect that. But if they're doing real things and there's something going on behind it, okay? See what I'm saying? When it comes to prison, a lot of things are watered down. It doesn't matter where you're at. So I'm not speaking of just Florida. I'm speaking anywhere and all. Things are watered down. It's usually just a number thing. But they're going to look out for their brothers. If their brother's on the grid, if he's on that wall, they're going to make sure he's not going to go in. Because at the end of the day, win or loss of the fight, if he goes into confinement, it's loss of a brother. It's loss of a number. They're one short. So it's usually the brothers that are watching the grid. And it could be two people in there. So you have one set who's kind of like sitting back, and then the other person has that set sitting back. So it could be one gang member in there fighting, or it could be two. So you're going to see, the people that are not fighting, who are the brothers of the people fighting, they're going to control, the spectators, if you will, if you can understand, if you're still with me. So I've seen Dodo Head come back from getting his hot water for a soup, stand and a stand right there and watch. When someone's in the background, hey man, keep walking, man. What are you doing, man? Trying to school him. You see what I'm saying? And the dude just like, he doesn't know what to say. And as soon as the first fight ends, win, loss, or draw, depending if it's just a head up and the other set doesn't have to rush in and get involved in it. If once it gets cleared up, Loopy Head is going to be in the grid by the dude who straightened them. It happens all the time. All the time. You have to spectate like a convict. You have to know how to watch what's going on. Okay? It brings me to a story. I talk about when I was in H-Dorm way earlier in the channel. For all that's been watching, or if you're new, you can go back. There's a thumbnail with Chris Johnson I have on there. It's one of the first stories I started to tell when I started telling my stories. But anyway, I was in H-Dorm at Holmes. You hear a lot on these channels. If you watch the prison genre, you hear a lot about Gladiator, Gangland, all that stuff. You hear it a lot. But those are shared words. Not saying that they're not true, but trying to be different. I call things, this dorm, I used to call it the horror dorm, okay? The reason that I was even in there was because I got a DR, and while I was back there, I caught several more DRs, and then I got out, and I got caught with a knife. So your custody is going to get jacked way up. So I went from minimum to high medium in a matter of just after DR after DR after DR. So when I was in H-Dorm, there was some Chico dudes in there. And I speak about when I was in H-Dorm, I was in there. You guys got to go back to the previous video with the whole Chris Johnson thing. I'll leave the link in the description. But my bunkie and me were in the room, and it was directly across where this happened. Now, this is kind of hard to explain. H-Dorm was not an open bay thing that I always usually talk about. H-Dorm was, closed cells that you could slam your cell door shut, but you couldn't open it. You had to get it unlocked by the CO. But it was structured different. It was a quad dorm that had 2 stories to it with a rail on the top, and nothing was open. It's not like an open bay. Anyway, when you're laying on your bunk, the only thing that I could see are the brick walls here, the brick walls here. My door is open. I could see 3 poles from the railing, and I could see directly into the cell across from me, and partially to the left of it and partially to the right of it. There's a Chico dude. He had to weigh about I don't know, 230, 240. He was in some type of Chico gang. I want to say he had brown pride on him, but I don't know what type of set he was in. But the Chicos were beefing with the other Chicos. Okay? This dude got into it with another Chico from a different set. They ended up banging it out right in that cell, right in the cell across from me. All right? And you had a dirt who wasn't convict way. Now, the convict way that I'm talking about earlier in this video is to just kind of be like this, keep some movement, but don't be so blunt and open about it. I was all right now. I was perfect in that. I was in my bunk, so I could visually see this thing go down. All right? The dirt was on the steps and just stopped what he was doing and watched it go down. The dude banged him up in there. Banged him up. All right? But sure enough, he was next. He got called out, went in there. He wasn't scared at all to go in there, but he took it the wrong way. You know, he went back and got his knife, whatever he had made. When they called him out, he went in the cell and he tried to use it. But the big Chico dude that I seen bam up the dude, one of his brothers ended up cutting the dude. Dude ended up getting cut up behind, just being stupid, not moving the right way like you're supposed to in there. Okay? The dude he got cut up bad, all right? Just for not moving the right way. Now, back to the big dude that lived across from me. When I first got in this dorm, I didn't know how to think. I didn't know how to really act. This is a bad dorm. There's a lot of time in this dorm. I mean, I speak of this when I speak of Mr. Chandler. He had a life sentence that he escaped. You know, so just to give you a picture, there's that much time. There's people with life in there, people with elbows, a lot of time in this dorm. When you're living in that type of dorm, because in Florida, they don't house you how you're supposed to be housed, I guess, if I had to compare it. They just throw you in with the wolves. You know, I only had 3 years to do this time, and they got me in a dorm with lifers and all that, so I didn't know how to take it really, you know what I mean? You have to kind of like, I guess what I was trying to do is, you know, I was ready to go at any minute. You see what I'm saying? So instead of just cooling it or laying back and doing time, you're on edge. So you're just ready to go, man. And I had to learn real quick. The dude across from me, I had got into it with a little bit, man, and one count, I'm sitting there in my bunkie, and I'm kind of like pacing back and forth in the cell, and I'm telling my bunkie about this, and he's like, man, you gotta chill, and I'm just like, man, I'm gonna crash him, he's looking at me wrong, this and that. It was a very minor, but my bunkie's like, bro, that dude got life plus, man. I'm telling you, man, him and them Chicos, they're cutting something, you know. And I had it's quiet, it's count time, you know. You hear a little bit, but not like the average, all the noise level when it's not count. So I had some time to reflect, you know, my next move, you know. And I had to sit there with myself and be like, man, is it really worth it, man? He's just looking weird, you know what I mean? And I ain't move on that one. And this is before what I seen happen. So I see the dude get cut up. He got cut up bad, and I've seen a lot of people get cut up in prison. Buck 50'd, stabbed. I told a story prior to this, the first time I seen somebody get cut, and I mentioned that on Death's interview too. But what happens with that is, depending where it is, for this instance, and the story I'm telling now, the dude's just cut up, man. You're gonna leak. You know, if you go to the glass, it's a check-in move, you know, or they're gonna think that you're telling. You know what I mean? When you're really just trying to get medical attention. So there's politics behind it all. But, most of the time, the next count, counts are several hours in between. The next count, the CEO is going to go from cell to cell, look in there, do his thing, and then he's going to look in as you give him your number. He's going to see. He's going to take you up out of there, cuff you up, take you out of there. But you're talking about hours in between counts. Anybody that's been in there, you know what I'm talking about. You got to, something simple as watching a fight. You have nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Something as simple as that has politics behind it. You got to know how to move. You can't just be on Front Street, with your coffee and a honey bun, like you're watching the UFC fight. You can't do it like that. But the reason for this video is going to bring to the next section. It's going to be, I'm going to talk a lot about gangs in the next section, man. So it's kind of like my intro video to that. We're going to speak a lot about gangs, man. And I don't know how other states are, but in Florida, it's in Florida, the gangs are crucial. There's a lot of pressure behind them. There's a lot of politics behind them. It is watered down, but I'm telling you, there's a lot of dudes that really are living like that, and they'll take you up and through there, man. So, this is going to be a good section. It's going to get deep, man. Everybody who's subscribed, like, comment, share this, man. Anyone who isn't, hit the subscribe. It's White Boy Lockdown Radio. It's Big Matt, and it's the White Boy Strong Solid Movement, y'all. I'm out of here. Y'all stay out, stay safe, and stay solid.